Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Kettering City Council. Today's date is January 10th, 2023. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for your abundant blessings and surrounding us with stewardship and a supportive community in Kettering. We thank you for the ability to engage in useful work and for the honor of bearing these important responsibilities. We are grateful for your boundless love for all of us. Please continue to give us the strength and compassion with which to serve and grant us the wisdom to make appropriate decisions. Help us remain humble and grateful for the opportunity to lead. Guide this council so that we may work in harmony while serving our citizens with integrity and purpose. Allow us to fulfill the responsibilities entrusted in us by our residents. Amen. Next, I would like to recognize our Miami Valley Communications Council TV operator, Mike Sabrani. Mike, thank you for your assistance. Mr. Duke has an excused absence this evening. Before we go any further, I would like to welcome our new city manager, Matt Greason, who is here tonight for his first council meeting. And welcome, Matt, and we look forward to working with you years and years to come.
Thank you.
Let's see. We need to approve the minutes for the December 13th council meeting and workshop minutes. Mrs. Fisher.
Well, Your Honor, I have reviewed both the council meeting and workshop minutes from December the 13th, and I do find them in order, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes. As the first meeting for 2023, we have a number of appointments to make to various committees. I will read them all off and then we will entertain a motion to approve. Long Range Planning is Mr. Duke as chair and Mrs. Hall. Intergovernmental Interagency Relations, Mrs. Fisher as chair, Mr. Klepass. Community Relations and Promotions, Mrs. Hall as chair and Mrs. Fisher. Finance and Personnel, Mr. Klepass as chair and Ms. Duval. Public Health and Safety, Mr. Scott, chair, and Mr. Duke. Public Service, Ms. Duval, chair, and Mr. Scott. By the way, I would just like to say these are committees that are called as needed, and additional people are nominated to serve on them for that particular meeting. So there's not really two-member committees. We now have some further appointments, and let's see. Once I've finished reading that, we will take a motion to approve. The motion will need to be seconded. I didn't take one up above, did I? No, that one's fine. Okay, that one's okay?
Yes, just read it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. The Sister City Committee is Robin Duckworth, Sue Fullenkamp, Ed Hatch, and Mary Lou Mears, all being appointed to terms ending 12/31/25. The Personnel Board of Appeals, William Linish, Jeffrey Mullins, Aaron Smith, all for terms ending 12/31/23. The Volunteer Advisory Council, Carrie Basson and Nancy Bird, terms ending 12/31/25. The Kettering Art Council, Anna Long, Lisa Becker, terms ending 12/31/25. And I would like to point out that Lisa is here tonight. Giveaways. Is there anyone else here in the audience? In which? You're Anna, okay. And I haven't gotten to you. You're right next. Okay. Kettering Arts Council is Anna Long, Lisa Becker. Those are the ones we're reading. Terms ending 12/31/25. Megan Fay, Susan Bennett, Elam Dassa, Laura Arbor, Jenny Elliott, Tom Meyer, Penny Miller, for terms ending 12/31/24. That all of them? Got them all?
Partners for Health.
Next page. Yeah. Partners for Healthy Youth, Carrie Bassam, term ending 12/31/25. Board of Community Relations, Vicki Colin, term ending 12/31/25. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Advisory Board, Laura Arbor, term ending 12/31/27. Board of Plumbers Registry, Michael Waker, term ending 12/31/24. That concludes them. Do we have a motion? A motion and seconded.
Your Honor, I have a motion to approve as read.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. That's it. Okay, public hearings. There are no public hearings this evening. Public comment on legislation. Is there anyone who wishes to address council on any of the legislation that is coming before us this evening? Okay, seeing none. I will now call on Mrs. Fisher to begin the introduction of legislation. And go ahead.
We're going to start with an ordinance to enact Chapter 179 of the Codified Ordinances, creating the Sustainability Committee.
Apparently, we have to follow the wording in the Constitution that anyone wishing to speak before council with comments or new information about the legislation on tonight's agenda may do so at this time. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Speakers must state their name and address. Comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting. Okay, now you can.
I can do an ordinance. Thank you, ma'am. I do have an ordinance to enact Chapter 179 of the Codified Ordinances, creating the Sustainability Committee. It is requested by both the mayor and the city council, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Steve Bergstresser is going to comment on that.
Thank you, Your Honor. This ordinance will enact new Chapter 179 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Kettering, which will create the Sustainability Committee. This is a brand-new advisory committee that's being created at the direction of City Council as a result of their March 2022 strategic planning retreat. The committee members will consist of residents of Kettering, and with at least one of those members being a high school age student, and they will be appointed to staggered 3-year terms. Among varying responsibilities the committee will be charged to look at, essentially they will be asked to look at the city's operations and practices and policies as a whole as they relate to sustainability, and then in turn make recommendations to city council and city staff for ways that we can improve our sustainable practices as an organization and as a city as a whole. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution this evening authorizing the city manager to accept and administer a grant from the Dayton Foundation for accessible upgrades to the Rosewood Arts Center Theater. The estimated cost is $73,455. That is the amount budgeted. It's requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason, here's your first chance.
Your Honor, thank you for the opportunity, both to present this item as well as be here as your new city manager. The city was awarded a grant from the Dayton Foundation to support accessible upgrades to the theater, which is Phase 3, part of Phase 3 of the Rosewood renovation project, which I had an opportunity to tour recently and looks amazing. As Councilmember Klepass mentioned, that's $73,455 to support a portion of our Phase 3 renovation. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall. Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Duval.
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and to contract for the 2023 curb, sidewalk, and drive approach repair program. This is city project number 5-123. It is being requested by the engineering department. The estimated cost is $1,405,000, and that is the amount budgeted for it. I move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Bergstresser, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution will authorize the city to advertise for bids and contract for our annual curb, sidewalk, and drive approach repair program. This year's program will include streets generally east of Woodman Drive across the street from the Tenneco plant. And then under the same construction contract, we will be resurfacing these same streets with the project. The project will also include minor repairs to deteriorating curb, sidewalk, and drive approaches at various locations throughout the city. The property owners will be assessed for the needed repairs, and previously council approved the resolution of necessity for the assessments back on October 11th, 2022. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Duval.
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and/or use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes and to recontract for the 2023 Street Maintenance Department. The estimated cost is $3.17 million. That is also the amount budgeted and is requested by the engineering department. I move for approval.
Second?
Mr. Bergstresser, do you have comments?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a rather large resolution, dollar-wise, for this year, but it encompasses several programs and projects within our general 2023 street maintenance program for capital improvements. This year, we'll be spending approximately $2.5 million on general asphalt resurfacing, as well as paving on Patterson Boulevard through the Hills and Dales Metro Park, and then also on Hempstead Station Drive between Stroop Road and David Road. It also includes approximately $420,000 from the increased state gas tax program that is directed toward residential streets. It will also resurface Southern Boulevard from Stroop to Dorothy and perform resurfacing work at Kennedy Park. We're also planning to spend approximately $430,000 on our concrete repair program, repairing medians on Research Boulevard in advance of ODOT paving Research Boulevard in 2024, and then some improvements to the recreation complex, a concrete drive that needs replaced. We also are planning to spend approximately $125,000 on miscellaneous ADA curb ramp locations at various intersections around town. This year's program will focus primarily on South Dixie Highway, north of Dorothy, in anticipation of future funding applications for resurfacing. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and a contract for the East Stroop Bikeway Glengarry to Dorothy project, city project number 05004L. The estimated cost is $200,000, which is the same as the amount budgeted, and this is being requested by the engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, once again, Steve.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will include the construction of a shared-use side path along the west side of East Stroop Road from Glengarry Drive to Dorothy Lane. This project will complete the missing link of a bikeway that runs approximately 4 miles along East Stroop Road, County Line Road, and Research Boulevard, which starts at Hempstead Station Drive and continues to Spalding Road. Once the project is complete, the regional Iron Horse Trail will be realigned to fit this more direct route. We are in the process of acquiring right-of-way from one property owner, and I would also like to mention that this is a project that was identified through City Council's process of appropriating funds that were received through the AARP rescue plan funding that we got from the federal government. So be happy to answer questions.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and to contract for the Flesher Avenue Bridge Replacement Project, which is city project number 03-934C. The estimated cost is $485,000, which is also in the budget, and it is requested by Engineering Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will replace a small bridge on Flesher Avenue, just north of Patterson Road, over the Penn Creek. Kettering was awarded funds for this project from the Ohio Public Works Commission in the amount of $200,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for right-of-way acquisition services. The estimated cost is $100,000 for traffic signals, $140,000 for the West Stroop sidewalk, and $45,000 for the Danube Bridge. All those are budgeted. It's requested by Engineering Department. I move for approval.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Once again, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned, this resolution will authorize the city to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract with a right-of-way consultant to provide services to acquire right-of-way for 3 federally funded projects that are anticipated for construction in the coming years. The first of which, as mentioned, is $100,000 for acquisition on the Kettering traffic signals replacement Phase 4 project, which includes the replacement of traffic signals at 5 intersections around town. Funding is scheduled for 2026, and funds have been provided for construction through the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. The second project is $140,000 for right-of-way acquisition to build a second phase of sidewalk along the north side of West Stroop Road between Stonebridge Drive and Ridgeway Road. This is, again, Phase 2 of sidewalk project on West Stroop. Phase 1 will be constructed in the coming years between Overland Trail and Southmore Circle. So by the end of this project, this Phase 2 project, we will have a continuous sidewalk along the north side of West Stroop Road for the entire length of Stroop. Funding for construction for this project will be in 2025. And finally, we have $45,000 budgeted for right-of-way acquisition on the Danube Court Bridge rehabilitation. This project will rehabilitate a small bridge on Danube Court just to the east of Woodman Drive. Funding for construction on this project is scheduled for 2024 and will be awarded from the Ohio Department of Transportation through their municipal bridge program. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. If everyone thinks we're spending an awful lot of money tonight, we are. It's that time of year when bids are going out and grants are being awarded. So we do this basically once a year with some smaller ones coming up in the future. So no questions? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Klepass,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and contract for the West Avenue Bridge Rehabilitation Project, City Project Number 3-948, and ODOT Project MOT West Avenue Bridge, PID 116012. This is being requested by the engineering department. The estimated cost is $568,000, which is also the amount budgeted for it. I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Stresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned, this resolution will allow us to seek bids and contract for the rehabilitation of the West Avenue Bridge, which is over a branch of Little Beaver Creek in the Wiles Creek neighborhood. We applied for and received funding through ODOT's Municipal Bridge Program for construction later this year. The grant award is in the amount of $473,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass,
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and to contract for the Wilmington Pike resurfacing from East Roop Road to Beaverton project. City project number 02-108 PA, ODOT PID 11693. Estimated cost is $1.658 million. That is the amount budgeted and is requested by the engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will resurface a portion of Wilmington Pike from East Troop Road to Beaverton, which is the first street south of Dorothy Lane on Wilmington. It will resurface the road as well as complete repairs to small areas of deteriorating curb. We were awarded a Federal Surface Transportation Program grant through MVRPC for construction this year, and that award amount was $594,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids and a contract for the Woodman Drive resurfacing Wilmington to Stalker project, City Project Number 02-106V, ODOT PID 116890. The estimated cost is $800,000, which is also the amount budgeted. This is requested by the engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project will resurface a portion of Woodman Drive from Wilmington Pike to Stalker, which is near, for point of reference, that is near the old AT&T building, which was recently demolished, and the new apartments are under construction right now. Similar to the Wilmington Pike project, this project will resurface the roadway as well as complete repairs to sections of deteriorating curb and median. Kettering was awarded a federal Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act funds, which is COVID relief money that was granted to the Mind Valley Regional Planning Commission, which they in turn prepared a competitive grant program to send the money out to agencies like us throughout the region. We are receiving $465,000 for this project. This does complete the engineering show for this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes, and a mighty fine show it was.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the purchase of fire uniforms and station wear. Estimated cost is $40,000. It is also part of the budget. It is requested by the fire department, and I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason.
Your Honor, thank you. Just like we are launching into our capital improvements program and all the projects associated With that, with the prior items, we are also beginning to purchase things that we need throughout the year, as well as goods and services, and start that process. This resolution allows us to move forward with purchase of fire uniforms and station wear for fire department members. Quotations giving us a unit price for those have already been obtained. And the estimated cost over the course of the budget year is about $40,000. We recommend your approval.
Okay, any questions? Okay, see none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for printing and mailing services for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Activities Guide. The estimated cost is $89,500. The amount budgeted is $85,000. Requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. Similarly, we're moving forward with purchasing of services for our PRCA activities guide, which is important to communicating to our residents and users of our programs, all the wonderful things that PRCA here in Kettering has to offer. We recommend approval.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing payment of 2023 membership dues to Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. This is being requested by Planning and Development. The cost is $30,666, and the amount budgeted is $30,700. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason.
Yes, these are our dues for participation in the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, a critical intergovernmental agency that serves this region and also serves as the Metropolitan Planning Organization or Transportation Planning Organization for the Dayton region. You heard earlier that we apply for grant funds, for federal funds through this agency and do many other intergovernmental cooperation activities. The yearly fee is $30,666.86. That's over the $25,000 required for consideration by the council, and we recommend approval.
Okay, anyone have any questions? See none? Oh, did you have one?
Yeah, I understand the return on investment is about 64%, and I think this is a great investment for a community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase equipment through the sealed bids, negotiated quotes on a cooperative purchasing program. Estimated cost is $2,509,900. That is the amount budgeted and is requested by the Finance Department. I do move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Greason.
Your Honor, each year we identify and you approve in the Budget and Capital Improvement Program equipment and vehicles for purchase to support the extensive amount of services that we provide this community. This resolution authorizes us to purchase that equipment, and it includes, and I won't read the long list of items, but it includes police vehicles, a fire engine, an SUV, various equipment in the streets, facilities, and vehicle maintenance area. We'd be glad to answer any questions you may have regarding these acquisitions. We recommend approval.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Which fire engine will this be replacing?
This will replace engine 36, and then engine 36 will go into reserve for a set amount of time.
Okay,
So it'll be at Hempstead Station.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Kettering, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. Estimated cost is $73,454.94. This is being requested by the Finance Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Matt?
Yes, Your Honor, earlier this evening, you approved accepting $73,454 from the Dayton Foundation to support Phase 3 accessibility improvements at the Rosewood. This allows us to actually then spend those funds. So you've accepted it. This legislation now allows us to appropriate and expend those funds. Just to reiterate, the grant supports accessible upgrades to the Rosewood Art Center Theater, including accessible aisles to the seating area and the purchase of an accessible lift for the stage. It's part of Phase 3, which is currently budgeted for a total of $690,000 and $73,454 to support accessibility upgrades.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall. Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes. Okay, we now have ordinances in first reading, and there are no ordinances in first reading tonight. Certifications and petitions, Ms. Kozinski, do we have any?
Your Honor, we did not have any certifications or petitions this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now ready for the manager's report along with community update.
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to highlight that for 2023, dog licenses are now on sale. The forms are available at area pet supply stores, some veterinarian offices, and at the Animal Resource Center. They can also be purchased at the Kettering Police Department by contacting Shelley Davis at the number on the screen, 937-296-3266. The deadline to purchase the dog licenses is January 31st.
I put one on my dog this very afternoon.
That is great. We also want to let you know that the AARP Foundation Tax Aid Program offers free tax preparation help to anyone if you're 50 and older and can't afford a tax preparation service. Just call us at 937-296-2480 or 937-296-2587 on or after Tuesday, January 10th at 8 a.m. To schedule a tax preparation appointment. It's a great service for those over 50. Our Yard Debris Center, beginning January 14th, the center will open every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. These seasonal hours will return to regular hours on March 6th. And if you haven't closed up Christmas and put your decorations away and you still need to take down your tree, Rumpke's will pick up Christmas trees at the curb until Friday, January 20th. All trees should be placed at the curb and free of lights or decorations. They can also be taken to the Montgomery County Solid Waste District and recycled. We also wanted to let you know that honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Day, city offices will be closed on January 16th. I think as we've discussed before and has been highlighted extensively through our communications there is a great exhibition that will be at Fairmont at the Performing Arts Center. And there that is Undesigned the Red Line, and there's going to be a reception held this Thursday opening that. Exhibit hours open to the public start Friday, January 13th from 5 to 8, Saturday, January 14th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Be open Sunday, as well as Monday, January 16th from 1 to 6. We really encourage everyone to take the time to go view this exhibit and understand the impacts that redlining have had on our communities across this country. And lastly, we want to share information about a program that is aimed at helping improve air quality in the homes in Kettering. There is a grant program available. It's a free HVAC upgrade for homeowners with updated systems. This is aimed at replacing HVAC systems and includes options for UV furnace lights. This is a forgivable loan up to $9,000. Forgivable loan up to $9,000. The loan can be forgiven at 100% after 5 years with no payments. Eligible participants are low to moderate income homeowners. If you need more information and are interested in that program, please contact Amy Hayslip and our Community Development Program Coordinator in the Planning and Development Department, 937-296-3308. That is our report for this evening. Thank you, Your Honor.
Great, thank you very much. At this time, if you would like to come speak to council about something not related to legislation, please come down to the podium. Each speaker will have a 5-minute limit. Speakers are asked to state their name and address. And if there's anyone who'd like to speak, and I know we have at least one gentleman tonight, come on down.
Come on down.
Good evening, council members. My name is Adam Schwiebert. I am the Government Relations Director for the Dayton Metro Library. Unfortunately, I'm not a resident of the city, but my in-laws are up on Adirondack Trail. So if they're watching, hello, Steve and Lori. I just wanted to take a quick minute to introduce myself this evening. I've had the opportunity to meet a couple folks so far, Tony, Jill, Mayor. My role with the Dayton Metro Library is to forge connections between our elected officials and the public library system. We are happy to serve the residents of Kettering through our 2 branches, but really as a broader system. And so we want to make sure that we are constantly engaged with our communities and their elected officials to make sure that we can serve your residents as best as we possibly can, whether that's programming within the walls of our buildings or outside there in the broader community. So I look forward to working with all of you and getting to know your community and how we can best serve each and every one of you. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for taking the time to come down and introduce yourself. And I think we're all very proud of the Montgomery County Library System with remarkable new buildings just throughout the region. And along with new buildings have come new services. And so we're very proud and happy to have you, and come back anytime.
Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
You sure may.
We're in the process of planning our Juneteenth festival for this year, and my understanding is the library will be sending I don't know what the right term is, the bookmobile is what I would have called it when I was a kid. They will be present at the Juneteenth celebration to engage with kids and give them some activities to do, and we're very excited about that, so thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
That's cool. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you once again. Bye-bye. Okay, we will now move on to city council reports. Yeah. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak tonight? Okay. I knew they didn't. Mrs. Fisher, you'll be the first one to give an update.
Well, I found it very interesting. We talked about Christmas trees, but my report will kind of have bookends, and it will start with Christmas. Pulling Day, our day at the farm was fantastic. Served a lot of folks, had minimum amount of food left over, which was awesome, which means that we all did our jobs. So put it on your calendar for next Christmas. Great time. Last night, I happened to be at the Fairmont girls basketball team playing against the Aviators up in Vandalia. Good-looking varsity team, so encourage folks to support our local high school and go to a girls' basketball game or a boys' basketball game. And I would love to see some faces at the Undesign the Red Line. I'll be working it from 10 to 12 on Saturday. I would love for folks to come meet me and learn with me. It is a plethora of information, and together all of us can move to a more inclusive community. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Kleepass.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I want to piggyback on to what the mayor said earlier. Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Matt. I'm going to put out the welcome. That's pretty good. Not only to you, Matt, but your family. And welcome to Kettering, your new residents. Just so happens he chose to live in District 3. That's good to have you here. And
That's why they're putting sidewalks in, huh?
also want to mention, on a different note, most of us attended the funeral service for Tracy Lynn Leach last week on Wednesday. Tracy was a career firefighter paramedic for the city. She retired in 2021. Said in her obituary that although she didn't like to brag about it, she was proud to be the first full-time female firefighter paramedic for the city of Kettering. Unfortunately, it was her life's passion that led to her untimely death due to occupational cancer. She was truly loved, and it was shown by the amount of folks that turned out for what was pretty much an all-day event that Mitch, our fire chief, and his staff, and many other organizations from the area that she had been involved with in the past, like the Bellbrook firefighters, put together. It was a funeral service, but it was a real celebration of life. And they had a procession through town at the end of the funeral service that went to the cemetery in Bellbrook, in Xenia, his official address, that was unrivaled by anything seen around here for a while. Had traffic stopped in many, many locations. Tracy left behind her husband of 12 years, Jay, her parents, Dan and Sharon Van Hoos, her brother Keith and his wife Alzina, and a nephew, Cody Van Hoos. Once again, it was quite an event that was put on, and thank you, Mitch, and all your staff for what you did for the family and the city and our friends. And last but not least, as we enter 2023, the message will not change this year. You got some money to spend it in Kettering, shop Kettering when you have a choice. You always have a choice. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you.
It's great to be here in the first meeting of the year, and first and foremost, just want to welcome our new city manager and Matt Greason. And you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the position, and look forward to seeing how we go forward as a city with you as a city manager. And I know it'll make Kettering an even better place to live, work, and raise families. I like to set goals for the new year, and one goal is I'd love to see how we can increase childcare options in Kettering. It's a real need for a lot of the moms and working moms and primary caregivers out there. And the second is just seeing how we can attract and open new businesses in Kettering this year. And it's been a year since I've had the privilege of serving here with everyone, and it's been really great. And it's been awesome how we get along well and work together, and I wish more governments could do that, but really have appreciated the privilege and look forward to seeing what we accomplish together this year.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, like everyone else, I want to welcome Matt Greason as our new city manager. I know you'll do well. This upcoming weekend, the city of Kettering and Trent Arena in particular will be the epicenter of high school basketball. It'll be the Flying to the Hoop event, which is great for our city, puts our city on the map, and it's a wonderful thing. And I want to make an observation. Last Friday afternoon, I was out of my front yard. I live on one of the busiest streets in Kettering. I was putting away the last of my Christmas decorations. And if you guys remember, last Friday was a pretty raw day. I'm out there and I see a city truck going down the street. It stops at my next door neighbor. A gentleman gets out of his truck, put the flashers on, went in my neighbor's yard and picked a piece of cardboard up that was trash that had blown in the yard. Okay? It was a cold day. That person did not have to get out of their warm truck to do that. And I think it's just indicative of the level of service that the parks, road maintenance, police, fire do for our citizens, and you do not see that in other cities. So kudos to our staff, once again, for the job they do when not being asked, and it's the right thing to do, and they do it. So thank you to the city for those kind of things.
Thank you. Nice story.
I would also like to start by welcoming Mr. Greason. Happy to have you here. Thank you. As mentioned multiple times, the Board of Community Relations is excited to host the Undesign the Red Line exhibit. Thank you, Jackie, for signing up to be a docent. I will be there Saturday from 12 to 2 and Monday 1 to 3. Come see me. We would also like to thank the Dayton Realtors and the Kettering City Schools for their partnership with this, and we hope to see a great turnout. We're very excited. We've worked really hard on the exhibit. We hope everybody enjoys it. And I would also like to extend my condolences to the family and friends of firefighter paramedic Tracy Leach and to the Kettering Fire Department. During the procession, and Mayor, I'm sure you saw this, adults and children lined the streets, and they were saluting, they were holding flags, they were holding signs. It was really moving, and it's like the city stopped for a moment. And I think that, as you said, we live in a great place, and that speaks to what it's like to live here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Along those same lines, one of the things that really struck me too with the firefighter Leach's procession was at St. Charles School. The entire student body poured out and stood along the curb waving flags, and it was very, very touching. And you know, I'm sure that memory of that will stick with those kids for a lifetime. And they'll have great respect for those first responders. So that was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. There's just no way around it. Let me say Happy New Year to everyone. I don't think anyone has said that yet tonight. So, yeah. I think it could only get better. 22 is one of those years I just soon forget about. And I've heard that from a lot of people, but 2023 is going to be great. On the Red Line exhibit, one of the things that has stuck with me for a number of years is back when I was on city council and be at turn of the century or something. I was on the Board of Community Relations, and someone brought to one of our meetings a copy of a contract to buy a house. I won't name the neighborhood, but it could have happened in any neighborhood, that basically said no one of black color may reside in any of these buildings. I was stunned. I mean, this wasn't that long ago. I was born, I was in school, and to see that could have occurred that recently has always struck me. So I would highly recommend people attend this Thursday night. It may be hard at times. It's hard to, look at our own truth. But there's no better way to honor Martin Luther King, I think, than attending that event. So thank you. That's all I have for tonight. I hope we weren't too hard on you, Matt. But one more welcome, and with that, our next regularly scheduled meeting is set for, if I can find the date here, the 24th, I believe. Yeah. Okay, January 24th. And with that, adjourn.